Thanks everyone for coming to this event. This is a Talks at Google event in partnership with Ola, and we are thrilled to have the national tour cast of Hamilton here. So a little background on how Hamilton, an American musical, came to be. It started in 2004 when a historian named Ron Chernow actually published a biography of Alexander Hamilton. And there hadn't really been many biographies written about him, at least in the previous few decades. And in this biography, it talks about Hamilton from his immigration to the United States from the Caribbean as an orphan, his joining the American Revolution, and ultimately becoming one of the founding fathers of our country. And Lin-Manuel Miranda, who was previously doing In the Heights at that time, he was actually, he was on vacation and was reading the book, and it really, the themes of the book stuck with him, and he really wanted to tell this story to more people, because it's a great story. And he wrapped that into a more modern retelling, which started out as a mixtape, actually. And you can look it up on YouTube when he originally played this for the Obamas, actually, in the White House. And from the mixtape, it went off Broadway in 2015, then eventually went on to Broadway later that year. The Chicago company started in 2016, and then 2017 kicked off the Angelica tour, which is the national United States tour of the play. And we are thrilled to be here. So it started in San Francisco. We've been lucky to have them here for about 5 months so far at the SHN. Welcome. It's still here for another week. If you haven't seen it yet, I mean, hopefully most people have been able to see it, but there's about another week of performances, right?
Mm-hmm. Week and a half.
So definitely see it before then, and if not, it's going to LA next, and that's a close plane ride. So without further ado, let's welcome Ruben Carbajal and Ryan Alvarado. So I was wondering if you guys could kick it off just talking a little bit about the characters that you play. Some people in the audience might have seen the show, some might not have, but a little bit about the character or characters that you guys play in the show. And then give us a little fun fact about yourselves if you have one.
Okay. Cool.
Yep.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. It's an honor to be here and to see all of you here. It's awesome. My name is Reuben J Carbajal. I play 2 roles in Hamilton. I play John Laurens and Philip Hamilton. So in Act 1, I get to play John Laurens, who was a Revolutionary War hero. And in the world of the play, he's Hamilton's best friend. I'd say he's his best one. And then
Some may argue.
And then in Act 2, I get to play Hamilton's son, Philip Hamilton, his first son. So yeah. Oh, fun fact. Oh man, you told me to think about it and I forgot.
Interesting or fun?
Yeah. I've been dancing Mexican folk dancing since I was 3 years old.
What?
Yeah.
That's why these things are good. And stuff like that comes out.
I don't have anything as cool as that. Goodness. I'm Ryan Alvarado. I'm a principal standby in the Angelica company of Hamilton. I'm responsible for covering Alexander Hamilton, Aaron Burr, King George III. Yeah. That's what I do.
One person ever has 3 parts.
Yeah, and interesting, slightly less interesting. Yeah, I was gonna say that I was born in the Bronx. I'm Puerto Rican. My parents are from Puerto Rico. Hey, hola. And wow, I did not grow up Mexican folk dancing, but I wish I did.
I'm sorry. That's the first thing I thought of.
No, yeah. Yeah, I'm an avid hip hop fan. I enjoy, obviously. But yeah. Hi.
You have a dog?
I do have a dog.
Pretty interesting.
Is the dog on tour with you?
She is.
Wow.
She is. Yes. She's sick at the moment. I know. I was fielding some texts, but yeah, she's okay. She's okay.
First question for you guys. As I mentioned, Hamilton premiered in 2015 on Broadway and made this huge cultural splash back then. I'm interested in hearing what your guys' exposure was to the play, like when it first came out, when you weren't part of it, and then how it was like stepping into those roles and those shoes. I mean, of the likes of Anthony Ramos and Jonathan Groff and such. And did you have any contact with them? How did you like train up on those roles?
Well, I first heard about the show when it was still a glimmer of a show, when it was still the Hamilton mixtape. I have been a huge fan of Lin-Manuel Miranda's work, and growing up, I became very invested in his musical In the Heights. I got to see it at the Pantages with Lin starring in it, which was awesome and inspiring. I became obsessed with his work and with musical theater in general because of that show, and I just started Googling everything I knew about him, and and this. Oh, good.
It's nice when it's unintentional, right? Like,
It's become such a big part of my life.
cool.
Thank
That's
you all. Oh my gosh, I didn't get paid for that, I promise. So yeah, I just was on the computer and I came across this video of him doing this thing at the White House, and I was like, what is that? Like a rap about Alexander Hamilton? Like, people laughed, and I mean, if the way he introduced it was, he said, I think something about somebody who embodied hip hop for him, and he said it was Alexander Hamilton. And so I got very interested in that, and then it kind of was quiet for a little bit because they were still working on it. And then I knew that it was going to be off-Broadway in New York. So I tried to get tickets, and I was in New York a couple times, and it just didn't work out. And then it went to Broadway, and then they were like, oh, we're also going to do a Chicago production and a national tour. So I was like, well, how do I audition? How do I get into it? So yeah, I mean, when I saw that the musical was going to be what it is, which is the story of America then told as America now, with people of color in these roles, I was like, I think I fit right in. I mean, looks wise, I think so. I know I'm a Mexican American, first generation, so I was like, this is perfect, and this is such an amazing story. And I think that with the cast recording coming out shortly after that, I just became like obsessed. Like, it was just like always playing. I knew all the words like within the first month, and yeah, I didn't actually get to see it until late last year because it was so dang hard to get a ticket. But
even the inside people, wow.
Yeah. I was in and out of auditions last year, and to finally get that call that I was going to be a part of this show that I've looked up to, and a show that has affected the lives of so many people, it was an honor. And so getting to talk with some of the original cast, I got to meet Chris Jackson, who played George Washington in the original company, and who has worked with Lin dating back to In the Heights. And speaking with him and what he had to say about the show and how important it is, and how lucky we are to, I want to say be alive right now, because how lucky we are to, be this close to something so powerful.
Yeah.
That just, it gave me all the inspiration I needed to go and conquer what I set out to do. But yeah, that's been sort of my story with the show in a nutshell. I'll let Ryan share his.
Mine is actually very, very similar. My introduction to Lin's world was through In the Heights. I was fortunate enough to do that work a couple times, and it's one of those things where it's modern tellings of great story. In the Heights is telling the Latin story, which I connect to it. I related to everything that I saw on stage, and it was a great honor and a privilege and a pleasure to perform in the show. But once you're in them, one thing that Lin does, and if you've seen the show, no matter what the story is, it's always a great heart at the core. It's really about people. It's really about connections, and the work facilitates that. So it's always called me. I think it's called most of us that have made it to do the work, and be in this production of Hamilton, in some way or another. that's what I saw when I was fortunate enough to see the original Broadway company before there was even a cast recording. And so I like to know the words. I'm sure many of you were told or warned that a lot of information is about to be thrown at you. Maybe you want to listen to this cast recording and get a head start on it. I didn't even have the option, but I did want to see it. So I saw it. I was moved. I was thrown. It was a very big moment in my artistic life and growing. And similar, yeah, it just kind of like called to me, and I saw my spot, and I could taste it, you know. And similar, and the work began. The cast recording came out not too long after I saw it, you know, and I just started like dedicating myself to the distance between me now and me then, you know, in terms of what I needed to do to really maximize my chances at getting this opportunity. So that was my way in, and that's my connection really, is just, and as I do it now, that's the greatest part, is getting to connect with people. And we do this work and people love it, and it's great, but the thing that I take from it is the camaraderie, the family that we build through this work, and then the connection of the people that see it, you know, and understanding like what it does for them, and that in turn does even more for us, you know, to know that you can be in the audience and you're going to have that same moment that I had when I saw it, you know, and now, but I get to be part of the gift givers, you know, and that's a blessing in and of itself. It's a constant reminder, just being in rooms like this, and you know, I'm constantly grateful. We all are. We're always like thanking our lucky stars together in big groups, you know. But yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Ruben, you touched a little bit on the actual trying out process. I'm interested, I don't think many of us in this room have done theater, and what all entails of trying out for a part? Like, from the, like, how do you apply? Do you send a resume somewhere? Like, how do you get from that to, I don't know, like, do coding interviews and stuff here, but like, what,
it's a lot like the Hunger Games.
Hunger Games, okay. Like, what was it like for you guys going through the process of being on the outside and then like going through this Hunger Games like esque process of becoming part of the show?
Yeah, step one was just to find out where and when the audition was actually going to be held. I have an awesome representation, so my agency, I got to contact them and say like, hey, this is what I'm interested in. If there's any way that I can audition for the show, I would love it, because it's what I want to do. I think that me, along with everybody in SoCal, had the same idea, because those agent appointments were like booked. They were like, we tried, like there's just like no room.
So they had regional tryouts?
Yeah, I auditioned in LA. I know they had some like in Dallas, and I think Atlanta maybe had some. But yeah, they were all over the country. Just, you know, for me, looking at that, I was like, this is overwhelming. There's so many people that are going to go audition, and because I wasn't able to get an initial appointment, I went to the open call. So it's just like, we were at United Methodist Church in Hollywood. The line was like snaking through this humongous parking lot. I think in total it was about 700 to 1,000 people showed up. I was saying earlier, it kind of felt like American Idol. It was like, I like went into the room, and they were like, okay, the audition was supposed to be about 30 seconds of a non-musical theater song. So immediately I'm like, okay, well, Hamilton it's hip hop, it's rap, there's some singing involved too. So let me think outside of the box, because a lot of the times I'm auditioning with musical theater pieces. So I picked my song, and I sang Billionaire by Bruno Mars, and did like some of the rap and stuff. So I was like feeling myself, and I was like, all right, we're gonna let's get it. So I went and did my thing, and then I like went from one room to the next, and they were like, here's this red ticket. So I'm like, this is American Idol, like if not like, yeah, exactly. I'm like being punked right now. So that room led me to a callback the next day, and then after that, it was about 2 weeks, and I got invited to go to a callback in New York and sing for. So this whole time I had just been singing for the casting people, Telsey, who did the casting. So not even any of the creative team. But when I went to New York, I got to sing for Alex Lacamoire, who did the orchestrations and part of the writing for the show. And he's a genius, and it's been awesome to work with him. But sang for him, and then got invited back to sing for him and Tommy Kail, who is the director of Hamilton and also directed In the Heights. Alex Lacamoire also did orchestrations for In the Heights. So they've all worked together, so they know exactly what they're looking for. So just to be in that room, I knew that I had made somewhat of a good impression.
At that point, did you know like who you were going to be trying out for?
Yes, after that, my agents sort of handled all that information, but they would pass on and be like, okay, like Alex Lacamoire is going to be in the room today. And then the next time it was, okay, Alex Lacamoire and Tommy Kail. And then I got invited to the final Callbacks in New York, which it was over about, I think I was in New York for about 10 days auditioning and meetings and dance calls, which dance isn't my strong suit. So I'm like, I was nervous. Like that was the most nerve-wracking part for me. And I was dancing for Andy Blankenbuehler, who did the original choreography. And then my final audition, they had told me, they were like, the creative team will be in the room, some of the producers will be in the room, and it should be about 15 minutes. I'm like, okay. So I prepared all my material. By this time, they had given me my packet of material for the roles that I was auditioning for. And then the funny thing was, like, the whole time I was thinking, like, okay, Lin-Manuel, like, might be in the room. I'll just have to, like, prep myself for it. It'll be fine. Just, like, deep breaths. Like,
wow.
somebody at the audition will tell me, like, oh, yeah, like, Lin's in the room, so just, like, you know. So I was, like, prepping that whole time to just, like, play it cool. And then I was, like, waiting outside of the audition room, and I'm just, like, you know, like, praying and also, like, taking deep breaths and trying to, like, hold my breakfast down. And somebody, like, in the room walked out, and they were like, is he here yet? And they were like, oh no, I think he's just, like, running late. So I'm like, oh, they must be talking about, like, somebody auditioning. And then the, like, door opens, and I see Lin-Manuel just, like, stroll into the audition room, and I was like, I was like, all my preparation just, like, went out the window. But I was like, you know what, I can't let this affect my audition. It actually made me more excited to audition, because I'm like, this is the man. Like, this is his role, this is his musical, and now I get to show him what I got. So that was an experience I'll never forget. And I'm sure that helped me to get to where I am today. Because I still, after that, it was a few months, had 3 more auditions and finally booked the show. So, yeah, I mean, it was.
It's a long journey.
Yeah, it was from when I first auditioned to opening night, it was about a year.
So were you working on something else at the time?
Yeah, auditioning, and I did a guest star on a TV show last year, which was really fun and kind of kept me busy. And you know, with a show like Hamilton, there are more productions opening up, so they're always looking for people. But something that I just had to tell myself was maybe not at this moment. So every time I came out of an audition room and I felt like I gave my all, I said, okay, well, I did what I had to do. Now it's up to powers beyond me. So, you know, God granted me with the opportunity that I'm blessed with, and yeah, I'm lucky to be here just only a year later. I mean, I say a year, but if I really think about it, it's a short amount of time to be where I wanted to be. So yeah.
Our process was similar, ish. It was the same thing. It was definitely long. I think all said and done, from first audition to getting the phone call, was about maybe like 5 or 6 months for me. I was lucky enough that my first audition, Alex Lacamoire happened to be in the room. He just, nice. I don't know why, but he was there. And I was, and the funny thing is that, not similar to Ruben, I don't have representation still to this day. I don't have a manager. I just don't have an agent. Anyone looking to sign? No.
Casting out a call now.
Yeah, so I didn't. So much of it was just, you know, it was not more on me, but I had to I kept my head in the game, eyes on the prize, that kind of thing. I felt like that audition went well, the very first one, but not having an agent or manager being like, oh, bridging the gap for me and figuring out when that next audition was. I believe that I that I had a callback coming, but I didn't know. So I just kept going to auditions.
Did they tell you what progress you were towards the end goal? Or?
No, and I didn't care. I didn't care at the time. I just kept going. I felt like the time was now, and I was, I just felt it. So I kept going, to the point that they kept seeing me, and then eventually I think they were just like, it's coming, and then they started they do this thing where they type you in and type you out, and we're types for the show. I've been typed in before, and all of a sudden I was just getting typed out. So I was like, this isn't over. But then my callback came, and then that process started, and it was slow, And again, it's this room is going to have 2 casting associates. This one is going to have 3 casting associates. Now we have the head of casting, and then I did a work session with the associate director and the associate music director from Broadway, and then that led into doing another session with Lack and Tommy, who are our musical director and director proper. To then the room with all the producers. I actually I was never in a room with Lynn, but pretty much everyone but, I would assume, yeah. And then I found out around Thanksgiving, I sank 6 floors through my apartment building, and then and the rest is history.
Yeah, if you guys haven't already seen, we have another guest joining us here. Put our hands together. Solea Pfeiffer.
Hi.
So Solea, we'll catch you up a little bit. Can you just tell us your role in the play, just a little bit of a description of who you play, and then if you have a fun fact about yourself, fun or interesting fact.
Okay. I'm Solea Pfeiffer. I play Eliza Hamilton. I'm wife to him, mother to him.
You got the whole family.
At any given day of this week. And a fun fact. My fun fact, I've got two fun facts. I was born in Zimbabwe, which is always my go-to. People are always like, oh. And so that's my fun fact. And I have a really weird irrational fear of Wallace and Gromit. So that is my other.
Stop motion animation.
Yeah. Can't explain it. But great.
Thank you so much for joining us. Okay, so let's go into the next question. So you guys have been in the Bay Area for about 5 months now. You've met a lot of fans here. You've seen what the theater scene's like. I think a lot of the sports teams and stuff have reached out to you guys. You've had some opportunities there. I was wondering what your thoughts are of the Bay Area compared to other places that you've performed before. I mean, you can be blunt about it. It's definitely not Broadway, but I think there is some sort of a scene here. So I just want. I just want to hear what you guys think the fans have been like and the Bay Area has been like.
Yeah. You can start.
Me? I'll start?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I couldn't think of a better city to start this tour in, really. What Tommy would always say as we were starting this process was that now, once this show and this piece leaves New York City, instead of people coming to New York and flying from all over to come to New York to see it, we are going to your home. And there's something really special about having arrived here and being able to bring it to the city as opposed to the city coming to us. And these crowds have been insane, you guys. I feel like I've been really spoiled. I feel like our whole cast, after any other show, we're gonna be is anybody even out there? Because it is raucous every day. I think our matinees are usually the best ones, and I think that's kind of unique. I think it's because that's when the kids come, and you will not find a more dedicated fan than a child fan of Hamilton. They are dedicated and loyal to us. They know us, and it's amazing. And I'm excited to see what it's like when we bring the show to a city that's maybe a little less woke, if that makes sense. Because, you know what I mean? San Francisco, everyone here knows what's up, and that's an amazing thing. And we can always count on a huge applause after the line, immigrants, we get the job done, without fail, every single show, and that's so amazing. But there are other cities in the country that maybe don't feel that way. And so right now it feels like a celebration, and that's amazing, and I couldn't think of a better way to start this tour than just celebrating what this show means. But it's going to be exciting to bring it to cities where we are challenging how people think too. And I think that's one of the most exciting things about this show, is that it kind of challenges people's perceptions and raises their consciousness a little bit. And so, I mean, yeah, like I said, this is a woke city. and yeah, so I'm glad we started with people who were ready to just like embrace this show and embrace us. So 100%.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you want?
Oh,
You don't want to say what you like about the city? No, I do.
I'm from New York originally. I'm an East Coast kid. I was born in the Bronx. I've been to LA once for like 5 days, so my experience on the West Coast is super limited. But I was just saying before we started the talk, I welcome the change of air, the change of pace. I love it here. It's something that you can sense and feel as soon as you get off the plane. It's just the pace is different, the people are different, and it's just it's so open-minded, and these are things that you just feel like before you even say hello to anyone, you know, or someone says hello to you, which is so
Totally.
against the New York norm. And you know, yeah. So it's been really great to me to just spend not like a vacation, even though we're here for work, but we're here to live, you know. So to live in it, to submerge in it, it's been great. It's been great. I was saying like the sun just feels differently here. It just shines a little brighter. Like it's really, really cool. And just amazing.
If you want to, the next question is kind of like that. So,
I like the Bay. Don't get me wrong.
so you guys have done a lot of stuff with the local community, and one of the things that I would like to hear a little bit more about is the EduHam. I know it's been with like a lot of the local schools and being able to see the kids. Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit more about that for people that aren't familiar with the program?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually got to host one of the EduHam days, which was so much fun. And what it is we reach out to the high schools that are around the area in which Hamilton is in. So in New York, they're doing it for the schools around that area. In Chicago, they're doing the same, and now we brought it to San Francisco. They've partnered with the Gilder Lehrman Institute, and they've created a curriculum wherein the culmination of that curriculum is seeing our show. And so big companies often buy out the entire theater for these kids, and they end up only paying $10 to see our show, every single one of them. So our matinee that day is for them, only them, and their chaperones. But before that, we get to witness something that I have never witnessed before, and that's they get to do original work based on what they've learned on our stage. And so they come up solo, they come up in groups of 3, more, and they'll do a rap, and the girl will be like, I'm gonna be playing Martha Washington, and this is my rap. And they'll do it, and it's so historically accurate, and just, it's like, wow.
Including the rapping.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you get to see the creative side of these kids. And when I got to host, I asked a couple of them, I was like, oh my gosh, like what shows, what musicals have you guys done? And they're like, we don't do that. And it's like, oh, but they're like, but we might start. I'm like, oh, well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like we're introducing art and history, and we're kind of changing how these kids think, and I think that's so special. I want to have them kind of say the experience of watching, but it was, oh my gosh, it just sat there, just jaw to the ground, just
That's amazing.
Wow, these kids, I think they're sophomores and juniors in high school, getting ready to go off into the world, and now they have all this information and this inspiration. So yeah.
Yeah, I was on the guest panel at the EduHam that Ruben moderated, and it was quite touching, actually. You know, these kids, they really get up there, and you know, some of them, you know, their performing experiences doing the same thing that they just did, but they did it, you know, in their cafeteria or in their school auditorium. You know, it is, you know, it's a big bridge to get. We have a Broadway stage at the Orpheum. It can be intimidating, and it's just 2,300 of their peers watching them. You know, so. And then they go and they do what they prepared, and it's magnificent, and it's just like, wow, it reminds us how special of what they are doing, how special of what the opportunity that we're given, and it's a unique thing that we're in something that can connect history to art, you know, and really bridge the gap and get these kids interested in that subject or in art, you know, and it's twofold, and we're just sitting there in the center of it, just like, wow, wow, oh my goodness, wow. And it's really cool. It's to us, you know, we do the show every day, but it's like that's like a real treasure, a real treat to just be in the room to witness that. I've always enjoyed it.
Yeah. The Edge of Ham days are always my favorite days to perform because the reactions from the audience are always completely different than any other show. Like you can always guarantee, like kids love a kiss on a button. When we get married and we kiss and it all buttons up every time they go, ooh, like they love it, and like there's just different reactions, so that's exciting. But you also know that they are taking in this information differently than other audiences, and you can hear it in the way that they react, but also, I mean, like seeing the kids before they perform, you can see their like hearts beating. You're like, this is a huge moment, and one that feels like it might change them forever. Like, it feels like it could be a very defining moment. And like, you'll see them, sometimes they might stutter over their words, and the rest of the kids are just like, there for them 100%. And it's so, like, nothing fills our hearts more than those days. And yeah, connecting history to art, and then a lot of these kids are from maybe more of a disadvantaged school or something and maybe that was the first professional show that they had seen, and so it feels, those days especially, it feels like you're there for something bigger than yourself, and it really feels like, I always feel like I have my best shows those days because you're kind of like, this is, I mean, those tickets are expensive, and like a lot of these people would not have a chance to see our show, and that's a weird thing, I think, for our cast anyways. Like, it's a weird thing to kind of come to terms with, that a lot of people who you hope this show will reach won't ever get the chance to see it. And then on those days, it's like 2,300 people who are us a little while ago, who were exactly us a few years ago, are having the opportunity we get to share it with them, and so it feels so special. I love Edge of Ham.
That's awesome that you guys are doing that. And I think Google, when you mentioned the companies, like Google was one of the ones that sponsored one of the events, so that's pretty cool that we got to participate. Insert plug there. So you guys are doing these events on top of your normal like show schedule. Can you talk about, like, you're doing 8 shows some weeks, two shows in a day? Like, is there anything that, I mean, first of all, it just seems like it'd be physically and mentally exhausting. Like, how do you get through those kind of weeks?
Sure, I'll take this one. That is definitely, I think for all three of us, this is the longest show I've ever done. So like every time that we do a show, I beat my own personal record for how many shows I have done. And it's a learning curve for sure. Like learning, when your body is your job, you have to be really careful. And it kind of just means that there are certain things that we don't get to do. Like during the week, I don't talk on the phone very often. I don't like Skype my friends or like talk to my mom. Like I don't really talk during the day unless it's something that I really want to do. And I don't go out, I don't drink. It's just like things like that are like just like little sacrifices, but it's especially when your voice is your job. Like I don't eat tomatoes after 7. Like certain things that you just like have to learn about yourself. But it's a weird thing to figure out because your lifestyle just changes in such a huge way once you're part of a show like this, because 8 shows a week is serious and you don't want to miss it. You don't want to not be there for a million reasons, but our job is weird that way, in that like if our body isn't feeling 100%, we can't do our jobs very well. Like if we have a cold, it feels like the end of the world and it sucks. So a lot of vitamins, a lot of B12, a lot of like just eating lots of veggies and staying quiet. And so there are times when our job is so exciting, but a lot of it is just like chilling out, like as much as possible. Yeah.
Cool. I have one more question, but get your other questions into the door, then we're going to do live questions after this. So this one. at Google, representation and diversity, it's really important to us. And we talk about bringing your whole self to work. And I think this is something that Hamilton has a lot of overlap with Google. And from its initial casting, it's been very racially diverse. I even was listening to an interview with Lin-Manuel a couple days ago where he talked about how it wouldn't surprise him if there was a woman cast as Alexander Hamilton in the future, which I think would be pretty cool. So I was wondering what this message that the show gives off means to you guys personally. And do you think that theater has this special potential to really drive this forward?
I think that if the art is willing to take that risk, I mean, it's already taking a risk being art in the world, where so many things, are just, they die out or they get rejected or they're just not cool. But if they take that risk to be inclusive to everyone, I think that's what makes it special, especially in a time like right now. And one of the first things I noticed when you all walked in the room is that everyone is just so diverse, and it's just like this is a Hamilton. This is the world that we live in, and I think it's great that Hamilton has given us a platform to really show the world that this is what America looks like, and this is a story. This is our history, and being Latino, I think that it's exciting. I'm very excited to be an actor today, with all the inclusive art coming to life. And I mean, there's like awesome shows on Netflix and Hulu and musicals with just people. I mean, we're just all people. So to see a show like In the Heights 7 years ago, and to see like Latinos on the stage and dancing to salsa and speaking Spanish, I'm like, that's me. Like, that's me up there. And to be in a show where I get to be with my brothers and sisters of color, I'm just like, I'm in heaven, and I get to tell an awesome story that applies to me and everyone around me. So it's just an honor, and I see this trend continuing as long as people take the risk, and as long as people are open to listen to what everyone has to say. I mean, the story is important, yes, but I think the way the story is told is more important. But yeah, I'm just excited. I'm just blessed to be here.
Yeah, I mean, I actually heard Lynn addressing a crowd that I was doing a show. I was doing Heights, and he was speaking to the crowd, and he said he was talking about what made him want to write at all, and let alone Heights. But it was because it had something to do with he had said jokingly, like, he's like, I don't dance, and I'm not a dancer, and I was never going to play Bernardo. And then I also thought, like, I don't know if I want to play, like, it's in terms of Puerto Ricans being represented in theater, it's your West Side Stories, we're gang members, we're the bad guys, or what, and that was just not something he saw doing once or for a career or making a career out of. So he was wondering where was his opportunity to show his best self, and he didn't see it. He couldn't find it, so he wrote it. He made it, which is amazing. And then because of that, similarly, we've all had similar experience in watching his work or any work, where you have to, in order to set your sights on something or say that's something that I could achieve, sometimes people need, it's helpful to see it done first. For me to see a Lynn go up, or for you to see yourself on stage and say, hey, that's me. Like, there's a home for me. I see it. I want it. I'm going to go get it. And that's the coolest thing about, I think, doing our show, is that we are so diverse. I think they always say, like, the casting idea is supposed to look like a New York City subway, and that's great because it's inclusive, and it allows these young kids and these audiences that we see as they're being touched, and we see them directly seeing themselves through a Raven or through a Julia or through a Solea or through, and it's like, that's the coolest thing is we see ourselves in them. And I think Solea said that too. And that's like the coolest part about what we do. It's the core of it. It's really to reach out to someone who might not have known that they can do anything, So, yeah.
I can say, I mean, I feel like different levels to think about this question. And personally, this show was the first time that I didn't think about my race when I auditioned. I'm a mixed race person, and I'm constantly being asked, like, what are you? Like, da, da, da. And it's, you know, like, of course, like I know I'm a confusing person to look at, and a lot of people they're like, are you Asian? Are you what? And I'm like, does it matter, really? And this was literally the first role where I wasn't worried, like, am I gonna be able to pass for this? Will the fact that I am this ambiguous, like, does my type matter? Does my skin tone matter? It was the first time that I was able to walk in and not think about that. It was just about what I brought to the table and what I could do with this material. And as an actor, there's nothing more freeing than that at all. And that, I think, is a huge, it felt like this huge moment for me, like as an artist, where I was like, there's more to me than the way I look, and I don't have to think about that this time. All I have to think about is how amazing this is, and I can look at these lyrics and think about that rather than like, do I look like white enough for this? Will I pass as Black? Will I pass as Asian? Da, 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 da. These questions that are always like at the forefront of your mind instead of the art. And so this was, I was able to put what is actually important first, and that felt amazing. And I know when I saw the show for the first time, it was the first time that I had seen myself on stage. And that was one of the most striking things about it. I was just like, oh my God, there's someone who looks like me who is like the love interest here. Like, it's not something, you know, I was like, oh my God, like there's so many, especially women of color, I think, we don't see ourselves as just like the ingenue or like the princess or, you know, the one to be coveted, weird, like it doesn't happen a lot. And it's an amazing feeling when you see yourself. And the idea, I played Sandy once in Greece. And I remember thinking, and I was brunette, and it was a thing, kind of. And I was like, wow, I can't believe people actually think about this. But then taking that and just kind of, when you really are like, there's someone like me in the audience who is seeing themselves maybe for the first time and seeing themselves, like that is a possibility for them, that's so huge. And then like kind of on the more like grander scale of this, there's this artist, I hope I'm saying his name correctly, Kehinde Wiley, if anyone has heard of him before. He's this amazing, check him out. He's this artist who he puts like, he'll take old Renaissance photos or photos of our founding fathers, and he will take a modern like person of color and put them in their place in the paintings. And the idea is supposed to challenge your idea of royalty, challenge your idea of intelligence and power, and putting like the person of color in that position. And it feels weird, and it challenges your mind to think differently about our history. And I think that's exactly what this show does. And you leave, like at first, like it might be jarring to someone's mind or eye to see a Black man playing George Washington. And I think people might be like, at first they think it's maybe a bit of a novelty or something. Like I think people think that it's part of like, I don't know, ooh, like that's the thing that Hamilton does. But after like 2 minutes of just like watching it, your mind just accepts it. Mm-hmm. And you're like, yeah, you don't even think twice that there's a Black man playing George Washington, our first president. And that is so huge. I can't think of anything, especially now. I mean, especially always, but as these things are, as these things are really at the forefront of our minds, I can't think of anything more important or anything that can change the world more than just like people's core values of how they think about race and how they think about power and intelligence. And that we can be a part of that just by virtue of being on stage and singing these amazing songs and, you know, moving people, that we can raise their consciousness like that. And just because Lynn was just like, yeah, people of color will be playing these roles, that decision, I think, was huge and imperative. And I think it makes me feel so emotional, really, because it makes the world a safer place and a better place. And as we bring it across the country, like, I'm excited to see how people continue to have their consciousnesses raised. Is that a word?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks so much, guys, for sharing that. That was amazing. So we're going to transition to some live Q&A. We also have some Dory questions. If you have a live question, you could just put up your hand. Brendan, are you able to help with we actually have a microphone up there that you could go up to.
I was thinking about that yesterday, actually. We have some breaks on stage where we're just like sitting on stage and like engaged, but we're not like doing anything. You'll see if you see the show. We're around on stage a lot. And I remember thinking, the way that, like, the fact that we are telling this story through, like, hip hop or rap or whatever, it, like, the people who, and a lot of the musical themes that Lynn used are from, like, Biggie songs or, like, songs that already exist. And a lot of people are gonna hear those and be like, oh my gosh, like, I know this song. And one interesting thing that I've always thought is, like, a funny juxtaposition about this show is that, like, you know, the people who, like, love Biggie might not be the people who are paying, like, the, like, $1,500 to get to see Hamilton. And what I think, the fact that it is told through this, I think the people who are like going for a night at the theater, you know, they are seeing hip hop and rap maybe for the first time for them as a really valid form of expression. Because there's, you know, for a lot of people, they don't even bother to listen to this type of music, or they have a certain stigma attached to their mind about what it means and what the message is. It's always been a valid form of expression, but for a lot of people, this might be the first time that they're seeing a story that they know, and it's told through a different way, and they're still moved, and they're still affected, and they still understand the story, but they are being challenged to actually sit and listen and have it be through a form of expression that they may not have been comfortable with before. And I think that is just as important as the casting and everything else. I don't know if this is answering your question, but yeah, I think that is one of the other important layers of this, that this is not necessarily a type of music. And now it's like just so mainstream, like people are like having their like kids listen to it, and there aren't. I think that's a new phenomenon, kind of.
How is your version different from the original Broadway version? And what additions, changes, or new spins does your cast put on the show? Do you guys have the liberties to do stuff like that?
You play
sure.
him, so
Yeah.
you should talk about that. You play Lynn's
In
character.
terms of the show as a whole, like big picture, it's Hamilton. You know, that's what the goal is, to bring you something that's on Broadway, that, you know, so that we can tour it and share this amazing show with as many people as possible. But in terms of the direction of it and how we're taught it and how the information is given to us, you know, there's many parameters, as there are with any Broadway show. There's, you know, hit this mark. It all comes down to math and spacing and gridding, and you're on 6 by, you know, this green box, and da-da-da-da-da. And there's so much of that. But they make sure, especially with this piece, to let you know where you need to fill in, where you need to put yourself here. You know, the direction is to, you know, go through this. You know, there's a song, if we're all familiar, Quiet Uptown, where we lose our son. And it's kind of like that. But yeah, you know, that to me, we don't get noted a bunch on it because the direction there is to do your best to live through that, to really try to fight through that and get through that and understand that and cope with it and communicate that to our fellow castmates on stage, and as well to get it to jump off the stage to you. So as long as, you know, that's the parameter for it, is really do your best to like go all the way there. And, you know, Solea does it every single night, and it's one of the more difficult things to do in the show. But, you know, that's what that moment needs. So it's more about that in terms of like giving the moment what it needs. And in order to do that, I might need to do it a different way than Lynn went about it, or you know, Ruben's gonna have to do it a different way than Anthony Ramos did it, you know, and that's okay, you know, and we're definitely pushed in that way. We're invited to explore, to investigate, to try new things, you know, and we always have an amazing team of directors, of choreographers that live with our company as well out here in San Francisco. So we always have someone to touch base with that is probably more connected to that original production, that original vision than we are. So that we can figure out how we're going to go about this and be able to provide whoever's watching it with the best Hamilton experience that we can as people, because we'll never be them, you know. And that's what's meant to be. It's really supposed to keep passing on to the next group and the next group, so we can hand this message off to the next generation, you know.
Great. So can we go to a live question?
With 7 or 8 shows a week, kind of doing the same thing over and over again every day, how do you keep it fresh? How do you bring energy every single night?
I think, at least for myself, the first three months of doing the show were just like a whirlwind. I was still like I was still like, oh my gosh, like I'm nervous, like I gotta hit this mark. So I was going through that every single show. And I think eventually I not only got comfortable with the show, but also just kind of told myself that this is unique to me. I don't really have to pretend to be anybody else. I don't have to please, I mean, I have to please my directors, but I'm saying like I don't have to like, I don't have to tailor my show, and because in doing that, I'm damaging my process and getting in my head. But to answer your question more specifically, it's finding new moments and finding where you can still build. And so our jobs are never done as actors. So just because we've set the show doesn't mean that we can just glide through it. I mean, there's still that emotional connection to the show, and it's a show that I care very deeply about. So obviously I'm going to put everything I have into the show. And you know, it's a different show every night. It really is. Things go wrong, things don't like happen how they're supposed to, or things change. And it's part of our jobs as actors to adapt to that. And it's the jobs of the creative team that's here in San Francisco to keep us, you know, on our toes about that. So if I try something, not necessarily new, but try something different, maybe my director says, okay, that's cool, work with that, or maybe don't do that ever again. But, you know, it's still, it's a growing, it's a breathing thing. And so we're always finding new ways to approach the same moments. And it also, excuse me, it also helps that our company is very tight, and we always have new people coming into the show that are in the company. So the swings will go on, or the understudies will go on. And those are some of my favorite shows, is just seeing how a new person takes the role and how they put themselves into that role. So at times it can get sort of monotonous, I guess is maybe for lack of a better word, but it's still so much fun. Like I still wouldn't trade this for anything.
Yeah.
Like it's just, yeah.
I can speak to this
Yeah.
a little. I know I thought that it would start to feel really difficult to do something, the exact same thing over and over and over again. And I think it can. I have done shows where I became incredibly bored of it pretty quickly. And to my shock, quite frankly, this show, I'm not even close to satisfied with it. And I don't think I will ever be, because oh God. Oh no.
We're brand ambassadors.
Oh God. but what I mean is there's always, this show is such a gift to the actors. There's something to be mined from it every time. The relevance of the show literally changes with like the news of the world that day. Like you will find new relevance to something and find a new way to connect with it depending on like the biggest headline or whatever happened to you personally. And I don't think there's a lot of shows that are like that. And so it's really created a show that is such a gift to the actor, and that there is something new to find every time. And this show, like people always tell us, like we found out we got these tickets a year ago, or like these were like my birthday present or my anniversary present, da 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 da. And so people have like had this date like circled on their calendar for a really long time, and it is our duty to make it as perfect as an experience as we can. Like if nothing else, like we work 4 hours a day, so I should be able to like put my entire self into this, because 2,300 people showed up and are so excited and are expected to be moved, and damn right they should be. So it's really, you know, it's our duty. It's what, you know, I went to college for, so that I could be as good at this as possible. And so yeah, it really, like, even on days when you're kind of feeling like down or low or whatever, as soon as you step on stage and like he'll go Alexander Hamilton, and they're like, ah, and you're like, okay, all right, yes, this is like, I love my job, and I am lucky to be here, and it's always that moment. Always, I'm just like, okay, all right, here we go. So, yeah. Do you have any?
It's great to hear that you guys are still enjoying it and not
Yeah.
bored.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you were bored, this brings us to our next question from Sunny F. Given the opportunity to play any other character from the show, other than the ones that, the one or ones that you currently play, what would it be and why?
Peggy.
No reason. Why not?
Why not?
Because
Right?
why not? Baby?
No, I mean, I'm only half kidding. I mean, like, it's so. I mean,
Peggy's fun.
Peggy's fun. Peggy's cool.
Totally valid.
She's cool.
Yeah.
I would love to play Hercules Mulligan. That role is just so fun and like, yeah, it's just like all his like lines are just like bruh, like oh Hercules. Like it's just like I'm totally not that, but that's that's being an actor. Like I want to do that one day maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have thought about this in deep depths. I really thought about this question because I used to think it was Burr, and because Burr has some fierce moments, like,
right.
And if you guys have seen Joshua Henry do it, you understand why anyone would want to play Burr. So he's incredible, and it's an amazing role. But one thing, at least for women in theater, I have never played a role where almost every song I sang was not about the male protagonist. And female characters are always, usually start to exist as soon as like the male character is like, hey, I would love to have a girlfriend, and then like she appears and like they sing together, And Hamilton is kind of that way too. Eliza, she as soon I sing exclusively about my man, and it's his story, it's Hamilton, but that has been my experience pretty much exclusively as an actress. Is the songs that I sing are about the boy. And Burr is kind of like that too. Burr is kind of written like a female character. He is, and it's an amazing role, but he talks about Hamilton the whole time too.
He's mine.
Yeah, literally. And so when I really thought about it, oh my God, to be able to play like a character that sings about their own thoughts and feelings and wants in life and goals would be the most amazing thing. And so if I ever got the chance to play Hamilton, I would take that chance. I would love it.
And I would watch. She's great. I would say I cover a few roles. I cover Hamilton and I cover Burr, so that's like memorizing the dictionary on it itself. But for me, I wouldn't mind doing Lafayette Jefferson, just because I think it's another thing where it's a very wordy, it's a very like rappy role. But I would even put it in terms of just the rap craft of that role. It's probably the biggest challenge that you can take on, I think, in terms of being a wordsmith. And I love challenges, and I think that would be probably the next one.
Cool.
Enjoy, yeah.
Can we go for a live question?
All right, thanks for coming today. I'm curious about the journeys you each took as actors from that moment when, as kids or teenagers, the theater bug hit. You said, I gotta be in musical theater, this is what I'm gonna go for. The education you went through, the training to be able to get in the most famous musical in ages. For each of you, what were some of the paths you took, and what do you think were some of the key factors that let you get to where you are?
I was a huge summer camp kid. I feel like I owe my decision to choose this life to summer camp, because I played violin very early on. My parents were like, love the arts. They were always super supportive, whatever I wanted to do. But I remember when I went to a theater summer camp for the first time, that is when I was like, oh my God, these are my people. And this is what makes me feel alive. And I was young, but that never stopped. That bug really did catch on pretty early for me. I feel like I was like 8. I played Peter Pan in a 15-minute skit that we wrote at the camp. But I loved it. I always loved it. I went back every year, and then I continued to do it. I did it in middle school, and then I went to a really serious high school where they had an amazing drama program. And then when I found out that I could do this in college, I was kind of like, oh my God, if I could continue to study this like that, there's nothing better. And my parents were very much like, you're gonna go to college. Like, my parents are college professors, and they were like, that is the next step for you. Study whatever you want, but get a degree, because no one can take that away from you. And that has carried me on. I'm really glad that I went through. Some people leave school early, this and that, but yeah, going to college and studying it for 4 years. I went to the University of Michigan, and I got, hey, go Blue! We're everywhere. I meet Wolverines everywhere. Yeah, I went to the University of Michigan. I got a BFA in musical theater. There's about 80 of us in the whole program. It's a small program in a huge university, and I couldn't. There wasn't a better program for me to go to personally. I had the best time there, and kind of figured out what kind of artist I wanted to be, what kind of work I wanted to do. because I think a lot of people have an idea of what a musical theater person is, and they're probably pretty right. Like, but in terms of who I wanted to be and what path I wanted to forge for myself, I took time. I studied in London for 4 months, doing Shakespeare only, not even touching anything musical theater related, and I think that changed how I approach everything. And I was actually still in school when I sent in an audition tape for this show. I had listened to the soundtrack, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to be a part of this somehow. And so I sent in an audition tape maybe like a month before I graduated, and I came back, did a few more auditions after I graduated, and it was actually the first job that I got post school. And so it was and it was one of those ridiculous where the stars just aligned, and it really was the perfect role. It was one of those weird things where in school everyone's like, this would be perfect for you, and you're like, oh, whatever, and then it happens, and you're like, whoa. But yeah, I mean, starting off as I think an important thing for like any kids or anyone who has kids who might want to pursue this is really learning about yourself a lot, because nothing will inform your craft more than knowing who you are. And I think I'm really happy that I took the time to find out who I was and like travel and do things that weren't focused specifically on our industry and just like learning how to do a triple pirouette or something, or being like fierce, because there's a lot of fierce people, but there aren't a lot of genuine people, I think, in what we do. And I think nothing reads more and nothing is more moving to an audience than a genuine performance, or someone who really knows who they are, and that's something that you can really feel and sense. And so University of Michigan kind of allowed me to do that. I was able to take classes on like witchcraft and like random things and figure out who I was, rather than just like dance class only, and like sing, and yeah, I think nothing makes a better artist than a well-read person, I guess, if that makes any sense.
No, for sure.
So yeah, my journey, I owe all of my journey to like summer camp and teachers and supportive parents, and kind of allowing myself room to figure out who I was, and like really decide that I really wanted to do this. This is kind of unrelated. My senior year, I found out I had a thyroid nodule on my throat, and I have a scar right here, and I had to have surgery on my throat my senior year of college, and I was like, oh my God. Of all the places on my body, the most important one, I was like, I wish this could have been, and I was freaking out, and it was this huge kind of like come to Jesus moment for me, because I was like, I realized there's nothing else that I want to do more. I was kind of like, if something goes wrong, I don't know. And when everything was okay, it was kind of this moment of like, okay, guard this with your life, guard this future. Like, I realized there was nothing else that was going to make me quite as happy, and it lit this fire underneath me, and I was like, okay, now you're going to make this happen, because you know this is what you want. And it was one of those moments that was horrible in the moment, but I learned so much about myself, and I learned that this was the life that I wanted, and so I'm really grateful. But it was an important part of my journey, which is why I add it. But yeah, that's me.
Oh yeah, no, amazing. I guess I don't know if I consider myself a late bloomer, but I did it in middle school. Just what I did. I did the school play in middle school, but I also did the shows in high school and stuff, and that's when I got serious. I started thinking about like it as a job, or a possible job. Definitely something that I was really taken by and intrigued by. So I got serious in my own head. I just like clicked that light switch, where I think everyone does that. They just say, I'm this. This is part of me now. Yes, because it's it's just that kind of thing. It's an artistic path. So I started that mentally. I went to school. I was actually cut from my program. I went to a small school. It was an acting program, just 30 minutes north of the city. Is SUNY Purchase. It was a great little acting program. And then everything like this inner fire is kind of like what's like propelled me forward, and that's through rejection, through all these things that I felt like were in my way. I at least have been the type of person I think that I've always wanted to overcome. I've always wanted to surpass people who might have tried to put me in this box, or say maybe the no for this. If I say yes, it's yes. Like I can go do that. So I left. When I left school, I I didn't stop. That was when I literally, like, everything was just, not them specifically, but I had even in family, you'll find that you'll have naysayers at a young age. You'll be like, no, yeah, they act out, but like, that's impossible. That's the hardest career. That's, no one succeeds, it's so hard to do, and it is. I just knew I would do it. I would try. I'd give it my all, and I did. And after college, I got my first company job at a year-round theater. They hired me out for a couple years of like work, and I treated that as kind of like the complementary thing to my education. I've done it, and it also like helped me build who I was as a person, because I learned in that experience. I decided that I would finish school in my head by making everyone around me my teacher, right? It's like the star of the show, or whoever it is, or the director, or anyone who I valued something that they had to gain. Because you learn in acting too, like a great way to learn is, it's not bad in the world of acting, but stealing, seeing something that, oh wow, like, and I want to wear that, or I want to put it on, or I want to figure out how to also take those skills and apply them. Maybe we all do this. I don't know, but and I just started doing that. I started like compartmentalizing who were my professors for what, what I was going to take. Or by the end of this show, I want to be able to do that. Or I want to be able to dance like that, or whatever it is. And I just started going day by day, trying to figure out till I could graduate in my head. And then this theater that I worked at was on Long Island, which is just like this place where it was like an hour east of the city. I gathered as much as I could. And then I packed up, I moved into the city, and I started gigging and auditioning, and I've never left that mentality, though I do it now, I really, because, this is a great opportunity, but, they tell you when you get here, like, obviously it's always eyes on the prize. What's next? What can we turn this into? And the only way that I'll get there is by learning from everyone here, everyone that we work with, everyone we've been blessed to meet along this journey, you all, it helped me figure out how I wanted to work, or what type of artist that I wanted to be as well. And that was my journey, I compartmentalize rejection that way, and no's, and people and doubts, instead of let them hinder me. I try to use them always, whether it's prove someone wrong, the chip on the shoulder. It might not be the best way, but yeah, it worked with me, but yeah.
Cool. Can we take one last live question?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm cutting off your journey.
Mine?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I went to school, graduated. I got a BFA in 2015. I owe it all to my mom. She was like, put me in theater when I was a kid. I didn't want to do it, but then she like kept, she was like, hey, like do this, do that. And I did some like TV commercial stuff when I was a kid, so I knew I liked it. Once I like started to like get into it, I knew I really enjoyed it. But yeah, the flame was lit in high school, and since then, like, I never stopped. Like, I'm just like, go, 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 and if somebody tells me no, I'm like, well, I'm gonna go around that and keep going. So, yeah.
So one of the things that I love about Hamilton and that it's sung through is that the breadth of songs is huge. So, you can kind of like discover different things. And, when I first started listening, I gravitated towards the biggies, like Wait For It and It's Quiet Uptown. But now for some reason, I can't stop listening to We Know and the Reynolds Pamphlet, like back to back, just over and over again. So I was wondering if there's songs that you guys love that you don't sing, that are not part of your role, that in first act and second act that you just like gravitate towards right now.
Second act, I can tell you that, well, my favorite song in Hamilton is Room Where It Happens. And I owe a lot of that to Josh Henry, who plays Burr. I'm lucky enough to like be on stage while he's performing that number, and I'm just like doing my little like choreography like here while he's like giving this like award-winning performance. But just to see his transformation is so awesome. I mean, to see him how he is before that song to after, it's like he turns into like a monster. Like he's like he just like looks taller and looks meaner, and he's like ready to like go I kill someone. He does, but I just
spoiler alert.
Just like that song just by itself, without the acting part of it, just how it's written, it just gets me. It's just so good, and yeah, I'm just lucky enough to be on stage while he's doing that. I really like Satisfied, and I remember the first time I saw Satisfied, I liked every song. Satisfied wasn't my favorite when I first listened to the recording, but when I saw it and I saw how they staged it, and I was just like, what is going on? Like, why are they playing with my emotions like that? I was just so happy and helpless, like, yeah, like helpless. And it's like they're like
Rewind.
kissing and like marriage, and then all of a sudden like you just get hit in the face, and you're like, what? And then like it was over. So yeah, those two are probably like my favorite songs that I don't sing in. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess like singing it, but I love Nonstop. Nonstop has been my favorite in Act 1 always, just from jump. Mostly because you can just geek out at how like they just took the musical themes that Lynn took and devoted each character to, and when they come together, it's like musical theory, like heaven. Like you can geek out so hard over that moment, even just like looking at the sheet music and realizing what they did in terms of how they were going to take like one musical idea and use it to tell the story, and like use those little themes to define who those characters are. And when they all come together, it just is the coolest thing. So you're like, I recognize that, I recognize that, I recognize that. And it's all, I think the amazing thing about music theory and an amazing, like Alex Lacamoire being the most amazing musical arranger, I don't know the exact wording. Orchestrator, yes. When you just have all these musical geniuses all on the same page working to like, just tell the story so specifically and so perfectly, that song is an amazing combination of all those things coming together, because the musical, I don't know, I love to geek out over musical theory stuff. And I love Obedient Servant. I just think it's so good. I think it's so good. You're just like, hey. And so I just get to listen to that one backstage. I'm the only person backstage during that part. You too? Where are you? We gotta hang out. I didn't know this.
I'm not like
Where have you
right
been hiding?
Backstage. I'm in my dressing room.
Oh my God. Well, I can always see. My boyfriend is actually in the show. We met in college, and now we're both in Hamilton, and he's gonna be Hamilton tonight, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna be opposite each other. But I always during that number, because I have all this free time, and he's right off stage, I can always like mess with him. I'm like, hey boo. I always try to make him laugh. He never does, but I always get to mess with him there. So that's another part. That's another reason why it's my favorite.
A song that I don't do, well, it's really, I can only think of Burn, but so Hamilton is this huge show. I'm sure we all seen it. There's so many moving pieces. We've got turntables going. We've got so many lights. We've got all these mic cues, all these costumes, all these changes, and it really is it's a ginormous thing. But to me, it reminds you of what brought you there, what we're doing it for. When you just see an actress, an amazing one like Solea. We have many covers also that are all doing this in their different way. But it's that kind of thing in our show where you're being hit with so much stimulus, and then a song like Burn comes on, and it's all taken away. It's one person in one light cue, and she's got one thing to say, and she's going to use all this music and all this song to like do it. But it really, I think it's one of the hardest things that anyone does in our show. She does it and they're doing it every single day. And like we said earlier, every show is that show for you. So it's her, I see her angle into the song change, and when different people do it, their entire approach may be different. I've seen her end in a different, or heard, I have to hide in the back during that. But I've heard it end in a different place than it might have. And like the calibration of that specific journey without a scene partner, without all the things that make Hamilton to me is one of the craziest feats that you can do. And I don't know how often it happens in the show, but that's definitely like the biggest one, where it's just go. And like, make them cry, or like whatever it is, and like, and it's wildly impressive. I've told her many a time, and all the girls who do it, it's one of the single most difficult things I think an actress is doing in the contemporary musical theater in any show. So that impresses me without fail every single show, every single day.
Awesome.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. Let's put our hands together for the cast of Hamilton.
Thanks,